The Bouncing Betty, not your average party favor. Imagine you're a soldier, cautiously advancing through enemy territory when suddenly the ground beneath you erupts with a surprise. Meet the Bouncing Betty, the life of the party in the world of WW2 mines. Officially known as the S-Mine, this German-engineered marvel was designed to do more than just ruin your day. The Bouncing Betty had a nasty habit of leaping into the air before detonating, kind of like a jack-in-the-box from hell. Picture this. You're minding your own business, trying not to get shot, and you step on one of these beauties. The mine springs up about waist-high and then kaboom! Sends shrapnel flying in all directions. Talk about an explosive personality! These mines were scattered generously across battlefields, turning every step into a gamble. Soldiers quickly learned to move with the grace of a ballerina, hoping to avoid these deadly jumping jacks. The Bouncing Betty's shrapnel had a wide reach, making it a menace for anyone in the vicinity. If you were lucky enough to hear the clicks before the leap, you might just have time to hit the deck and pray for cover. Next up, we have the Tellermine, the heavyweight champ of anti-tank mines. If the Bouncing Betty was the mischievous prankster, the Tellermine was the burly bouncer at the club, ready to flatten anything that dared to roll its way. This German-engineered beast was designed to take out tanks, and boy, did it take its job seriously. Picture this. You're in a tank, feeling pretty invincible, when suddenly you hear a crunching sound under your tracks. That's the sound of the Tellermine saying, "Hello, I've been expecting you." With enough explosive power to flip a tank like a pancake, this mine made even the toughest armored vehicles feel like toy cars. The Tellermine was a flat, disc-shaped device, about the size of a large pizza. But trust me, you wouldn't want this one delivered to your doorstep. It was often buried just beneath the surface, waiting patiently for some unsuspecting tank to roll over it. When triggered, it sent a massive shockwave upwards, turning heavy armor into crumpled tin foil. Soldiers and tank crews had to be on high alert, constantly scanning the ground for any signs of these hidden hazards. The mine's clever design meant it was difficult to detect, blending in with the terrain like a sneaky chameleon. And let's not forget the fun part. They often came in clusters, making minefields a veritable buffet of destruction for advancing forces. Let's flutter on over to our next trap, the butterfly bomb, the dainty yet deadly darling of World War II. Don't let the cute name fool you. This little critter was all about causing big trouble. Officially known as the SD-2, the butterfly bomb was a German submunition that spread chaos from the skies with the grace of a ballerina and the punch of a heavyweight boxer. Picture this. You're looking up, admiring the clear blue sky, when suddenly, a swarm of what looks like butterflies starts floating down. How lovely, you might think, until one lands nearby and boom! Reminds you that not all butterflies are here to spread joy. These bombs were dropped in clusters from aircraft, spinning and fluttering down to the ground, where they'd either explode on impact or lie in wait, ready to detonate at the slightest disturbance. The butterfly bomb had a unique design, with two curved wings that popped out upon release, allowing it to spin like a maple seed as it fell. This ensured that they spread out over a wide area, creating a minefield of miniature explosives. It's like the Germans took a physics lesson on aerodynamics and thought, how can we make this deadly? For soldiers and civilians alike, these bombs were a nightmare. You couldn't trust the ground, the air, or even that adorable-looking thing lying in the grass. The bombs were small and often went unnoticed until it was too late, making every step a potential last dance with disaster. Clearing areas of butterfly bombs was a daunting task. Explosive ordnance disposal teams had to be extra cautious, as these bombs could be set off by the slightest touch. It was a bit like trying to defuse a ticking time bomb while walking on eggshells, not exactly a job for the faint-hearted. In the twisted ballet of wartime traps, the butterfly bomb was the prima ballerina, pirouetting through the air with deadly elegance. So next time you see something fluttering down from above, remember, not all butterflies are harmless. Some pack a lethal surprise. Now let's turn up the heat with the Molotov cocktail trap, the fiery favorite of guerrilla fighters everywhere. Imagine combining the simplicity of a bottle, the flammability of gasoline, and the ingenuity of a trap, and voila, you've got yourself a Molotov cocktail trap. This homemade fire starter was the ultimate DIY project for those looking to give their enemies a warm welcome. Picture this. You're an enemy soldier, cautiously opening a door or window, and suddenly, you're greeted not by a room, but by a whoosh of flames. That's the Molotov cocktail trap saying, surprise! Resistance fighters across Europe loved this fiery invention for its simplicity and effectiveness. All you needed was a glass bottle, some gasoline, a rag, and a match, and boom, instant mayhem. The trick was in the setup. These traps were often rigged to doors, windows, or pathways, using tripwires or simple mechanisms that would tip the bottle over, igniting the rag and sending a fiery explosion towards the unsuspecting target. It's like setting up a booby trap with a built-in bonfire. Talk about bringing the heat. Molotov cocktails were named after Vyacheslav Molotov, the Soviet foreign minister, though I'm pretty sure he never imagined his name would be synonymous with fiery chaos. The cocktail part comes from the simple yet potent mix of ingredients, a recipe for disaster if there ever was one. These traps were especially popular in urban warfare, where they turned buildings and streets into fiery gauntlets. Soldiers had to approach every door and window with caution, knowing that a burst of flames could be waiting on the other side. It was like playing a game of hot potato with your life on the line. In the grand arsenal of wartime traps, the Molotov cocktail was the flamboyant showman, bringing a touch of pyrotechnics to the battlefield. Let's venture into the jungles of the Pacific, where the Ponji traps awaited with a prickly greeting. These weren't your average booby traps. They were the guerrilla fighters' low-tech, high-pain solution to slowing down their enemies. Think of them as nature's way of saying, "Stay out!" with a bit more oomph and a lot more ouch. Imagine trekking through dense jungle terrain, sweat dripping down your face, when suddenly you find yourself falling into a pit of sharpened sticks. Ouch! That's the Ponji trap for you, a cunning blend of natural materials and savage simplicity. These traps were basically pits filled with spikes, camouflaged to blend seamlessly with the jungle floor. It's like nature itself decided to join the guerrilla warfare party. The beauty of the Ponji trap was in its brutal effectiveness. Guerrilla fighters would dig shallow pits and line them with sharpened bamboo stakes, sometimes even coated with toxic substances or feces to ensure a nasty infection. Then, they'd cover the pit with leaves and branches, creating a hidden hazard for any unsuspecting soldier. It's a bit like setting up a deadly game of hide and seek, with the stakes quite literally being life or death. For enemy soldiers, every step in the jungle became a test of nerves. They had to be hyper-vigilant, prodding the ground ahead with sticks or bayonets, hoping to avoid these treacherous traps. It was like trying to navigate a jungle obstacle course where the obstacles could impale you. Fun, right? The Ponji traps were a testament to the resourcefulness of guerrilla fighters, using the environment to their advantage and turning simple materials into lethal defenses. It was a classic case of making the most out of what you've got. In this case, lots of sharp sticks and a deep-seated desire to keep the enemy at bay. In the grand theater of wartime traps, the Ponji trap was the jungle's booby trap extraordinaire, blending in perfectly while delivering a painful surprise to anyone who dared to step too close. So next time you're hiking through the woods, keep an eye out. You never know what might be lurking underfoot. Let's dive into the explosive world of booby traps, the sneaky little surprises that kept soldiers on their toes and their nerves on edge. These traps were the practical jokers of the battlefield, except their punchlines were a bit more explosive. From wired grenades to hidden charges, these traps turned everyday objects into ticking time bombs. Imagine you're in enemy territory, cautiously opening a drawer or lifting a seemingly innocent object when kaboom! You're greeted by an explosive surprise. That's the explosive booby trap saying, "Gotcha!" These traps were designed to blend in with the environment, making every interaction a potential game of explosive hide-and-seek. The creativity behind these traps was nothing short of diabolical. A favorite trick was to rig grenades with tripwires or attach them to doors, drawers, or even personal belongings. Soldiers quickly learned that curiosity didn't just kill the cat, it could also blow up the entire squad. It's like someone took a Rube Goldberg machine and said, "Let's add some dynamite and see what happens." Explosive booby traps came in all shapes and sizes. Some were hidden in buildings, turning homes into explosive death traps. Others were placed in the most mundane items, like tins, helmets, or even discarded weapons, making every piece of debris a potential hazard. It's like living in a world where even your lost keys could be plotting against you. For those tasked with disarming these traps, it was a nerve-wracking job. They had to approach each task with the delicacy of a bomb-defusing ballerina, knowing that one wrong move could mean a very loud and very final exit. It's the kind of job that makes you appreciate the simple pleasures in life, like not exploding. In the chaotic landscape of wartime, explosive booby traps were the ultimate pranksters, turning everyday objects into deadly surprises. Buckle up, folks, because we're about to take a ride with the decoy vehicles, the ultimate wartime tricksters on wheels. These weren't your average jalopies. They were cunningly crafted to fool the enemy and pack a surprise punch. Imagine rolling up on what you think is an enemy tank, only to find out it's a Trojan horse on steroids. Picture this. You're a soldier scanning the horizon, and you spot what looks like an enemy tank. You prepare to engage, but as you get closer, you realize something's off. That tank is a little too still, a little too fake. Congratulations, you've just met a decoy vehicle. These deceptive dummies were designed to lure enemies into a false sense of security or directly into a trap. The decoy vehicles came in various forms, from fake tanks and trucks to dummy artillery pieces. They were often made from lightweight materials like wood, canvas, and even inflatable rubber. Yes, you heard that right, inflatable tanks. It's like the military's version of a bouncy castle, but with a much deadlier purpose. These decoys were strategically placed to draw enemy fire or to guide them into ambushes. Some were even rigged with explosives, turning what looked like an easy target into a deadly surprise. It's like the military decided to play the ultimate game of surprise. You're dead. The enemy would waste precious resources attacking these fakes, only to find themselves in a much worse situation. In some cases, these decoys were so convincing that they fooled not just the enemy, but even friendly forces. Imagine the confusion when a squad of soldiers approaches A-tanks for support, only to find it deflates faster than a birthday balloon. It's a good reminder that in wartime, seeing isn't always believing. The brilliance of the decoy vehicles lay in their ability to create chaos and confusion. They were the military's masterclass in misdirection, proving that sometimes the best defense is a good deception. So, next time you see a suspiciously still tank or an oddly light truck, remember, it might just be a decoy ready to turn the tide of battle with a clever ruse. Let's tiptoe into the world of tripwire traps, the sneaky snares that turned every step into a suspenseful cliffhanger. These traps were the ultimate game of don't touch that, blending simplicity with explosive surprise. Imagine walking through enemy territory only to find that the ground itself is out to get you. Picture this. You're cautiously moving through a battlefield when suddenly your foot catches a barely visible wire. Before you can even mutter, "Uh-oh, boom!" you're greeted by an explosive wake-up call. That's the tripwire trap's way of saying, "Gotcha!" These traps were the unsung heroes of guerrilla warfare, combining stealth and surprise into a deadly package. The beauty of the tripwire trap was in its simplicity. A thin wire stretched across a path, connected to a grenade or mine, and voila, instant mayhem. It's like the ultimate Home Alone prank, but with much higher stakes. Soldiers had to be hyper-vigilant, scanning for any sign of these hidden hazards, knowing that one misstep could trigger a very loud consequence. Tripwire traps were incredibly versatile. They could be set up just about anywhere, across doorways, along trails, even inside buildings. It was like a dangerous game of cat's cradle, with the string ready to unleash chaos at the slightest touch. For the enemy, it turned every step into a potential leap of faith. The real genius of the tripwire trap was its psychological impact. Knowing that these invisible threats were lurking everywhere made soldiers extra cautious, slowing down their movements and increasing their stress levels. It was like adding an extra layer of paranoia to an already tense situation. Because who doesn't love a little more stress in a war zone? For those tasked with clearing these traps, it was a nerve-wracking job. They had to proceed with the delicacy of a tightrope walker, carefully cutting wires and disarming devices without triggering an explosion. It's the kind of task that makes you appreciate solid ground and a lack of hidden wires. In the grand scheme of wartime traps, the tripwire was the master of suspense, turning every step into a potential thriller. If you know of any other traps, I'm waiting for you in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.